Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to my Facebook live stream. And my name is Jimmy Cheng. I'm a professional photographer, filmmaker, and an Olympus ambassador. So it is what it is, Olympus Thursday. That's right. This is my new daily live stream schedule, and every day I have different things to talk about. And today, Thursday, it is Olympus. So it's everything about Olympus, nothing but Olympus. Yes, it's full 100%. Although having said that, I do have to reference to some other brands today because it's exciting. And I'm going to discuss something that is coming soon. You know, if you've seen the roadmap, we all know that there's several new lenses being announced, and also within the roadmap itself, there are some other exciting lenses that that we hopefully will see at some point this year. One of which is the 100-400. Now, you guys have been talking about it for a long time. You've seen it. This being discussed in rumor mill and things like that, so might as well use this opportunity to talk about this particular lens. Why do I want to talk about it today? Because Canon is going to announce something today at 1 p.m. London time BST, and they are going to announce a few things. Of course, the heavily rumored and heavily leaked new range, the mirrorless camera, the R5 and R6, together with a bunch of new lenses. And a couple of them we kind of already touched base on, which is the 600 and 800mm prime, but at f11. But I got more news today, and about the not only about the specification of the lens, but also the price of the lenses. So this could be a discussion point about what we should expect from Olympus for the for the new 100-400 lens. Because I think personally that we have a good potential there to kind of conquer this focal length. So let me go back to it a little bit deeply so we can discuss about in detail. So let's say some hi to people first. Our regular, of course, Ralph, Trevor, Robin, Theo, and Terry. Hello, good morning, everybody, and it's great to see you all joining me today. So like I said, it's exciting news. But before I start, let me show you what my current favorite of the in terms of Olympus telezoom, which is this guy here. So like, you all seen it, you all know about it, possibly a lot of you own this lens as well, which is the 40-150 2.8 Pro. Yeah, this is definitely by far one of the most loved and also favorite zoom lenses across the board. Yeah, you know, I know a lot of Olympus photographer, not just Olympus but Michael Foster, including Panasonic people, they love using this lens because of its constructions, as constant 2.8 aperture, and it has range between 40-150, which is in full frame reaches about 80-300mm. So this is a beast. And more importantly, just because I have the hood here, if I take out the hood, this is the real benefit. It's tiny, it's really small for what it is. And at the moment, it's a little bit thicker because I have the 1.4, the MC14 teleconverters here, so it just makes it just slightly longer. But apart from that, it's a very compact solution if you want to travel and do some animal, like general tele shootings with a 2.8 aperture. You can shoot a little bit lower light or using faster shutter speed to capture action. So this is a really good lens. I do use this like basically in every photo shoot. Yeah, you know, I don't shoot animals, I shoot people, but it's really good to sometimes get some sort of like candid moments thing. I will step back a little bit, I let the family enjoy the moments. I use it to really capture some lovely moments between the children and parents interacting. So this is a very genuinely versatile lens, not only just for professional action stuff, but also in day-to-day stuff as well. So it is my favorite lens, and that's why I'm also excited about the upcoming 100-400 lens, because it adds even like a longer range for you to do more stuff. It may be limited to what I do personally, but I can see the appeal to a lot of photographers who are currently using the 40-150 and also the 300mm f4 Pro lens. Those people are usually doing bird photographies and genuinely wildlife photography in safari parks and things like that. These are cool stuff, right? You know, and you really want to get close. And sometimes you may not want to, let's say, have a teleconverters, because this new lens is supposed to be slightly faster. You know, when you combine the 2.8 Pro lens and the teleconverters. Let's say if you want to get the reach, you have to like either slot in the 1.4 or even the f2, so 2 times converter. That means that your 2.8 will suddenly become f4 and 5.6 respectively. So that means that this new lens would possibly get away with that without having to use any teleconverters while maintaining the aperture and getting even closer to your subject. But more importantly, this teleconverter should be compatible with the teleconverter. That means you can get even closer. So this is why I'm quite excited about this. But at the same time, I just want to and perhaps also discuss about when this lens arrives, at some point in the Olympus world, and how it compares with, let's say, the current direct rival, which is the Panasonic Leica 100-400 f4 to 6.3 optical image stabilization lens. So this lens obviously is if you want to get to that sort of focal length and a zoom, there is no other option apart from getting the Panasonic Leica, because Olympus currently doesn't have that on the table. So in people who are looking into a flexible zoom lens, tele-zoom lens that can do what I just mentioned, getting closer to subjects, doing bird photography, they will have to go for this if they want the flexibility of a zoom. Otherwise, you can continue using the 40-150 with a 2x converter, or the 300 f4 Pro. So these are the two choices. But if you want that flexibility, the Panasonic is currently the only option in the Micro Four Thirds world. But obviously, very, very soon, we are going to have the Olympus, and that certainly will be something, right? So these two are kind of like the direct rival in terms of focal length, aperture size, and potentially weight and build and everything like that. But I do also think Olympus may actually be a little bit better, because I've seen most of the Panasonic Leica lenses, I've used some of them in the past, that they are usually bigger, heavier, and bulkier, even though they're Micro Four Thirds lenses, just because it is what they are, and I don't know whether it's something that Leica has struck the agreement with Panasonic, because a lot of the designs are quite consistent in terms of how it looks and how it feels. They're usually designed to be a little bit more chunky, and that's how I feel about them. You look at their 12mm f 1.4 Panasonic Leica Summilux, and then look at the other Panasonic Leica lenses. They are usually a little bit chunky, apart from the 15mm 1.7 and also the 25 1.4 Summiluxes. But those are plastic. The 25, especially 25, is a plastic lens, so it's not actually a well-built, I would say, the well-built professional lens. So it's slightly lighter than other lenses. But other than that, they are they're Nocticron, right? The 42.5 1.2 is also quite a bit bigger and heavier compared to the Olympus 45 1.2. So this is how I feel about it. And if we're following on the same kind of theme, that means the Olympus MG 100-400 should theoretically smaller, lighter, and potentially better built. And so we don't know, of course, until the announcement. And but this is something that I want to look into now, and so see how it compares with the Panasonic Leica. I'm not sure how much experience you guys have with the Panasonic Leica lens. You guys can let me know from the comment section here. Maybe we can have a little talk about it. But the reason I talked about Canon earlier, because today they're going to announce officially 4 lenses, and I'm going to show you exactly what 4 lenses they're going to announce. So let me just keep the Olympus lens here up here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Canon's announcement today. Right, this is not official for me, and I just got the information from Canon news site. This is something that they have already kind of leaked out already, including prices, and that I'm going to come into as well. So this is what Canon is going to announce today. They're all RF lenses, so they're not EF lenses. That means they are designed specifically for the mirrorless cameras, like the R system, so the R6, R5, which is also coming today. And so these are the range that you're looking at now. So the RF 100-500L, this is the professional lens. Not sure about the aperture sizes yet, but it's going to be run about £2,900. This is the L. I suspect this is actually not the top end professional, because in Canon they also have different ranges as well. Even within the L series, the professional lens series, they have obviously the prime, bigger aperture, better build and things like that. They have the slightly more compact solution but slow aperture while maintaining the optical quality. So this, I suspect, is the lower range of the professional arena. Even though it has a 100-500 zoom, but I don't think the aperture is going to be huge. So I would suspect it's going to be between 5.6 to f6.3 to even f8. So I'm suspecting that will be kind of the figures you're looking at. And then the 600 and 800, we already talked about it earlier this week and also last week. They are going to be f11 lenses. You can see the prices. that is actually quite shockingly low. And then, but it also means that I really strongly believe that these lenses are going to be plastic lenses. So they're not going to be metal. They're going to be plastic. They are actually fairly small, and I'm going to show you a picture in a minute because that is also being leaked as well in the Canon news site. This is going to be something to look into. And at the same time, they're also going to announce the 85mm macro lens. This is the first macro lens designed for the RF system because previously you have to adapt the EF lenses onto RF system. So that means they don't have a native mirrorless macro lens. So this will be their very first. Again, because of the leak, I don't have any information to tell you what sort of aperture it is, and I suspect it's going to be 3.5 to 2.8. It depends. But 650 quid is not an L lens, so give or take, I think it could be a 2.8. I think that it's just like the old 100 f2.8 macro in the Canon world. So it's interesting, and especially from the pricing point of view. But like I mentioned, the 600, 800 in the f11, I don't really, care about the f11 issue, the pricing issue, but at f11 it's just maybe a little bit too slow for my taste. I don't think that it's going to be as practical as you may think. And most of you guys who do a lot of wildlife photography and film bird in flight photography knows that speed is definitely essential, right? You can't really shoot anything lower than 1/1000th of a second. You need really quick. And for that, an f11 not only is going to slow down the autofocus. I know that in mirrorless terms now you can focus on very slow aperture because you got much higher sensitivity compared to DSLR systems, so you can shoot down to minus 3, 4, 5 EV, which means that you can shoot at f11 instead of f8 in the DSLR technology. And that means that it's feasible to focus, but feasible to focus or being able to focus is different to how fast you can focus. So even though that you may have that with that pricing, and I don't think it's a practical solution for people who would like to get that sort of focal length to start with. Okay, and so it still puzzles me a little bit about the f11 lenses that Canon is going to release. But in the Canon website, especially from the rumor sites, obviously they are trying to counter-argue that these lenses are going to be tiny, so it's easier for people to travel. Right, and this is why Micro Four Thirds exists in the first place, right? And it's all about portabilities and being small and rugged and things like that. But we have f2.8, we have f4 lenses instead of f11, and we got better built. Quite frankly, like even though they may be slightly low, but if it's a plastic lens that does sort of focal length, I'm not entirely sure whether it's going to be weather sealed, but I don't know. For 700 quid, is it going to be weather sealed? It may not be weather sealed. So if it's not weather sealed, that could be some problem if people want to take it to a really dusty environment like safari, right? And you want to go to Antarctic to shoot some birds and things like that, and you probably won't be able to take that lens. You may just fail. But the argument was that you can take these on the plane, on carry-on as part of the portable solution. That's coming from Canon, and so it's going to be, I don't know, it's just going to be weird. But let me show you a little bit more about that so we can understand exactly what they are. So let's have a look at first of all, the 600mm first. So this, I just got it a little bit, okay, 1 second. I just need to reorganize some of the text here. So let me just move on the title here. So this is the design for the 600mm f11 lens. So it's a very simple lens. So they actually kind of go back to where photography started. If you look at a lot of the really old tele lenses, I'm talking about like 1960s, 1970s, they are very, very simple tele lenses. Basically, it's just a tube with a few glasses in between. This is a 9 elements 6 group design, and it's not going to be huge because of its f11 for full frame. You don't need a very huge elements at the front. It's only 72mm, so it's just by looking at that, it's going to be small. And I'm going to also show you another picture how small it is going to be in a minute. And so compare, let's say the now top of the range Canon lens, which I'm going to switch that off. So this is the Canon lens now. This is what is now currently has. This is the 800mm f5.6 L lens. This is much more complicated, obviously much more expensive prime lens. These this is what top pros are using in sports arenas, and kind of top professional wildlife photographers are using. This is 18 elements, 14 group designs. Very complicated, very expensive. You talk about like minimum of 10 to 12,000 pounds. That's kind of regions. So it's not something that for everyday people, and not for enthusiasts either, unless you've got deep pocket. But you can compare the two designs there, and this from very complicated design to a very, very simple, and that's how they can drive the cost right down. And not only just the F11, but then for that price to exist, you can also have to discount a lot of things. Yeah, not only just on the optical side, but also at the build side. Like I mentioned, it's plastic. It's not going to be metal. It may not even have weather seal. So it's just basically a tele lens, which you can possibly pick up in a second-hand market. Find one of these 1960 lens for about 50 quid if you really want to get into that sort of thing. So I still kind of have a little bit of a thought about I made an argument last week when I talked about the Canon decision of making 11 lenses. I know from the Canon world, people are talking about Canon trying to make it more portable as a mirrorless system. And DP Review also talked about the new normal of having f11 lenses, which are a video that for the very first time, I actually disliked the video from DP Reviews, because they completely, gave the wrong educations about f11 lenses. They are really not only that, they also talk about referring our lenses being slower by incorrectly referencing our lenses are being f8, f11 lenses, without having to kind of clarifying that we are 2.8 is 2.8 in terms of light gathering capabilities. And but anyway, that's subject to discussion in another time. And so it's something that they're trying to re-educate people that f11 is a good thing. Unless you know exactly what you do, I think that this is another kind of miseducations to misleading a lot of the people who are into trying to get into photography, starting to do wildlife and using long tele lenses, and they actually think that these lenses may be great for f11. And I think when they come down to, when they really get their hands on those lenses and starting to shoot with the RF, then they find out that, oh, instead of, if I need to capture the bird flying crisp, like pin sharp in the air, I need really fast shutter speed. But f11, I may have to push the ISO, even in bright daylight, I'll probably have to push the ISO to 6400 to get something decent. And would you really want that? And I don't know. That they may have some arguments behind it, but this is what they're calling people now. The new f11 lenses are the new normal for normal photographers. I'm not talking about pros, but normal photographers, and also about portability. And these are something that we as Micro Four Third world, all the photographers who use Micro Four Third gears has been appreciating, the form factor, the lightweight, the ruggedness about, the smaller lenses that we have and smaller system in general, for Micro Four Third. So just like this, this thing here that I'm holding in one hand, this thing gives me, 80 to 300 millimeters equivalent at 2.8. Jordan, and Chris, if you're watching this, it's not 5.6 lens. It doesn't call it 5.6. It's a 2.8 lens. It's not 5.6. The light gathering capability is still 2.8. You can say it's equivalent in terms of look and feel as a 5.6, but definitely not a 5.6 lens. And that's how they refer these lenses in their videos. That's why I kind of really got a little bit frustrated how they refer the Micro Four Third lenses in the video. But anyway, so this is something. If people really want portability, you treasure portability and prioritize portability, Micro Four Third is still there. It's still a very genuine good option, and you don't have to bump up your ISO to 6400 to capture anything. You can shoot at 2.8, and that means that you give more light to the sensor. That means your AF will be as quick, and so it is a genuine versatile system if you really care about portability. That's how I see it. And if people obviously don't understand it, and it's really hard to re-educate, especially now there are a lot of people talking about it, and the new Canon lenses, they somehow done a pretty good job of marketing those lenses, and to be quite frank. And you can see how the Canon rumor sites are touting about the f11 lenses, and talk about, even DP reviews are talk about f11 lenses are being good. It's a good idea. I'm not entirely sure that would be the good idea in my book as a photographer who's been working in the industry for 15, 20 years. And I'm not sure about you. Would you buy a, even at that price point, would you buy an f11 lens? I don't know. I mean, call me crazy. I would rather get a kit lens at 5.6 than getting a f11 lens, full stop. That's something I don't think I would do. And regardless what price it is, how small it is, an f11 is an f11 lens. I have to push the ISO so high to get something decent. Imagine if the bird's in the shadow. You might have to bump it up to like 128,000 ISO to get something. At 128,000 ISO, no matter how big this sensor is, how good it is in low light, it's not going to be clean. It's not going to be reflecting on the details. It's got to be smudging. You can call me crazy. I want to talk about the truth. Regardless of format sizes, you are looking at ultra high ISO shooting, and I don't know. This is something that is really, really very, very subjective. And people always talk about like Micro Four Third is really not a strong point when it comes to high ISO shooting or low light shootings. To a certain degree, I would agree, because this is physics. Is something that you can argue about. It's just physics. You have a smaller sensor size, your photo die is actually smaller than the full frame, and pixel to pixel signal to noise ratio is obviously stronger in a smaller sensor, so you will have more noise by comparison. However, shooting at f11 at like 12,800, 25,600 ISO constantly is not a solution. If you really compare to shooting at that sort of ISO compared to Micro Four Third shooting at 2.8 using like 800 ISO, you have no comparison. 800 even in the Micro Four Third world, is going to beat crap out of all these 12,800, 25,600 ISO images. And so that's how I see the system. They may prove me wrong. The new R system may be able to do 2 million ISO and get really clean images at that sort of ISO levels, and that would mean that the f11 lenses may make sense. But then again, I truly believe using lower ISO the better, and also having a genuine brighter lenses is always better in photography, regardless how you look at it. I know optically, Canon has been known for designing their lenses. They have DO optics now, which they are implementing DO diffraction optics in the 600 and 800 lenses. So this is something that have been done in the past. That's how they shrink the size further as well. And I was going to show you the actual pictures, wasn't I? And I'm just trying to find a picture now. Have I got a picture? I'm just trying to see that. Oh, not this one. And oh dear me, I thought I had that picture somewhere. And see that one? Nope, not that one. I got that picture somewhere. Let me just 1 second. Let me just see where it is. Okay, just to give you an idea how big it is going to be. Like, this is the size comparison. Yes, that's a picture from the news site. So let me just close that off. Right. So you can see that, and how small it is compared to now the top of the range 800mm in Canon. So the bottom, the white lens, is the 800mm f5.6L, which will cost you a kidney to buy it. And the top one is the new 800mm f11. And you see the front portion. You see that silver ring kind of in the middle of the lens. That's the front of the lens, and the rest is actually the lens hood. So it is actually quite compact. But this is not the first time I've seen a compact lenses like this from Canon, because the very first DO zoom lens, what they had in the 100-300 DO way back in the early 2000s, and that lens was very compact for what it is, especially for the focal length. So they're employing the same design in this particular lens here, and to shrink it even further, that's how they do it. F11. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's so tiny for a lens. So technologically, I actually think is like, design-wise, is actually, whoa, that is small. But like the counter argument, like I just said again and again, that I don't think I would buy an f11 lenses. I would rather save up, if I can, save up to get a faster lens, no matter what. And this is something I may not actually want to invest. Whether Canon fan club will probably prove me wrong. This lens might actually become one of the most popular lenses ever. I'm not entirely sure whether that will. It feels more like the olden time, the mirror lenses that we used to have in the film days. These 600 millimeters f8 mirror lens. I don't know any of you used those lenses before. That they were cheap. They were cheap and cheerful. They're small. They're really tiny as well, apart from menu focus. But they are cheap. You can get one for like £200-300 brand new. And they're 500 millimeters f8. So these are f11, even slower than the mirror lens. Okay. Anyway, so this is something that I think is worth talking about it today. And in that case, let's go back to our today's topic. Yeah. Let's move it back now. So the Olympus upcoming 100-400 should be a very exciting news. The exciting lens on its own, because it basically just dust off what the Canon's offering. And not only in the focal length term. Look, this is 100-400. I know earlier I talked about Canon will release the 100-500 millimeter lens, but if you look at that, yeah, in terms of aperture size, I don't think we're far off. In terms of build quality, I don't think we're far off either, and it's going to be weather sealed, and it's definitely not going to be $3,000, that's for sure. And also it's going to be half the size of that lens. And okay, you said okay, the 800 is tiny, yeah, but it's a prime, it's an 800, and at f11, the 100-400 is going to be zoom. You got the flexibility there, you got the build quality to come with it, and all the bells and whistles that Olympus usually throw into you with that sort of lenses. So that means that we have a winning combination here, combined with your latest the OM cameras, the OMD cameras, the EM1 Mark III, EM1X will have up to 7.5 stop, because you will have sync IS with this lens, and you get superb stabilization and really good range to shoot your birds, and it's still going to be compatible with your MC stuff, which is absolutely amazing, right? I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. So something I'm genuinely getting excited about. Obviously, that I will stay tuned for my review, whenever that comes, and also we're all going to be waiting for Olympus announcement for this particular lens. It's on the roadmap. You all seen it. It's in the roadmap. So this is why I think this particular lens is going to, going to be a winning thing for Olympus, I think. I think we all got to be getting excited about this, and especially for those who do a lot of bird photography, animal photography. I will definitely get my hands on it, and as soon as I can, and I will be able to test it and see how it feels and things. I'm pretty sure it's going to be exceptionally good. I really can't wait to see these things in real life and realize how good it is. And I will probably do a comparison between this lens and my current workhorse, the 40-150 f2.8 Pro with teleconverters on it, to see how it compares between the two. But it will be interesting. It will be interesting. So really stay tuned for me, and don't forget I have my YouTube channel, Red 35 Photography. Click on the subscribe there, put on the bell notification. You will see that review as soon as I am able to release that video, whenever it comes. So that will be exceptionally good stuff. I'll guarantee you. So I can't wait. I really can't wait for that particular lens to turn up, and that will be something to scream about. And of course, another lens that I would like to talk about is the really cool upcoming 150-400 Pro lens as well. Don't forget, this is only a M Zuiko lens. They also going to have a M Zuiko Pro, which is the white lens, the white beast that I kept telling you how much I love that lens. I'm going to hug that lens to bed for 2 weeks. That's the lens I'm definitely going to get when it comes out. It's something that I also think that will be the answer to all the pro lenses markets out there at the moment, and especially for Olympus, they're gunning for the pro markets and also the premium markets. This is something that we all should be very excited about, because that lens is unique. That lens is unique. It's aiming for something that Panasonic hasn't done and other manufacturers hasn't done, like in terms of Nikon and Z system and things like that. So it would be really genuinely exciting. I think Olympus is really coming back. Really, I think it's really cool. So this is my talk today, and let's see how you guys feel about it. Let me read some of your comments, and let's go for a little discussions here. Okay, ooh, quite a few of you actually started talking now, and that's great stuff. Hello, Hart, and good morning. And lens priority, turn on sync. Oh, you talk about something there, probably. Okay, Ralph, hello, good morning. I have the 100-400 panel Leica, love it for wildlife photography. I use it almost exclusively in the field to separate me and my target. Pretty sharp. Yes, that lens, I heard good things about it. It's really sharp. So I will be curious to see how it stacks up with the the Olympus lens when it comes out, and how well it is, how sharp it is. I'm pretty sure it's very equal in terms of optics, if not better. So it's kind of something that I'm kind of excited to compare the two and see whether it's going to be something, another really genuine good option for a lot of the photographers out there who want that reach to their subjects. Okay, good morning, Calvin. Good morning. Right, Jimmy, is there any indicator on the screen EVF is sync IS is on? I don't think so. I never really pay attention to that sort of thing, to be quite honest, and I have to investigate. If someone knows, and please let Hart know. I'm not entirely sure about whether there's any indicator or any sort of icon or lights kind of lit up in the EVF itself or at the back screen about sync IS. There may be. I'm not entirely sure, but I know you can enable this from the super control panel very easily. I think it's automatic. Once you have the lens IS on and you switch on the stabilization in the camera, whether it's going to be MIS1 or MIS2, it's going to automatically sync up and then do their thing. I'm not genuinely that technical when it comes to like actual settings, and so I think that Peter Forsgard, maybe Robin Wong would be better than that. Right, Tony. Tony will love this new Canon lens and prove how nobody needs Micro Four Third. He will also say how equivalent M4 lens would be F22. I love that. Well, look, the world is heading that way, unfortunately, and I'm pretty sure it will be the case. They are going to say how good the lenses are, and I'm not saying they're going to be bad lenses, but I'm just saying that they are just f11 lenses that I don't think that a lot of people, especially people who really know about photography, would pay too much attention to f11 lenses, especially they know they need to, if they need the shutter speed to freeze action, they will need very good light, like ultra bright daylights and lots and lots of lights, and also very high ISO to be able to do that. So at f11 you are pretty limited in what sort of thing you can do. So that means that for people who really already using tele lenses or shooting wildlife and birds and things like that, they know exactly what they're looking at, and I'm pretty sure these particular f11 lenses definitely won't appeal to them. And but for newcomers, new photographers who really struggle to understand about f-stops and exposures and things like that, and they may struggle, and they may actually buy into the f11 lenses and shoot f2 million, sorry, ISO 2 millions to capture anything. But that's how they think about it now. And but anyway, this is obviously, I'm not trying to talk down on anything, and like I said, Canon and all the other manufacturers out there, they are doing their job to push the boundary further. But but this direction is certainly against what I've been taught about photography. So it's something that I found it a little interesting, about why they made the decision to introduce f11 lenses to start with. Not only that, and now they are marketing it out as a new normal for their new system. For portability, and also it's good to have f11 lenses. They are definitely marketing it. And you will probably see after the announcement this afternoon, and they probably do a huge campaign marketing these lenses. And I think they're going to focus on not f11. I think they're going to focus on the size, because you can see how tiny it is. They're going to focus on marketing the size aspect of it. But if they're marketing about size, people should have considered Micro Four Third in the first place, because we are definitely smaller, better, in any way. Okay, and let's see any other things here. Terry, hello there. One of the photographers I follow uses his 600 f4 mainly at f8 because the depth of field is required to keep birds fully in focus. Yeah, not surprisingly, because don't forget, in super tele lenses, And depending on how close to the subject, though, if you're really close to the subject, or when it fill the frame up. Once you fill the frame up, you do get really shallow depth of field, even at f4. So f8 is, I don't mind, f8. But don't forget that at f8 is probably the limit of DSLR technologies, and that's why you can't go slightly less than f8. But then again, you talk about bird in flight, and probably something that not really for like versatility wise, you're not going to be using it for wildlife in the shadow, for instance. And these are cases where you have to use 2.8 f4 fully open, and you still have to pump up the ISO, for instance. The f11, you definitely can't do that at all, because you can't shoot f11 in the shadow. You're going to be in ultra high ISO territories there. So that's something that what I said is, it will be applicable in some cases. It's not going to be across the board. It's not going to be as flexible as anything that we know in photography terms, and all the lenses that we currently uses, whether it's going to be 2.8, f4, f5.6, f8 even. F11 is really something else altogether. Let's see that Theo said I would not buy a f11 lens for sure. And Roger is the same thing about f11 lenses, and I personally wouldn't, and so is Peter. You all concur about the f11 issues there. And I think f11 is perfect for sun. You're shooting directly into the sun. That might be okay. What curious me though is that these f11 lenses, like you can set the aperture in normal lenses. You can stop down to f22 in most cases. Some cases, especially macro lenses, you can stop down to f32. I wonder if this lens actually have an aperture ring. Aperture, because what else are you going to stop it at, from f11? Are you going to continue stopping it down to f22? And in these sort of lenses, and unless you're shooting at still stuff, like not moving, you put it on a tripod, have a cable release on, and you set it to, if you want the depth of field on these tele lenses, and then they stop down to f22, for whatever reason that is. But it's going to be interesting whether they do have an aperture. And they might just shoot wide open at f11 all the time. Okay. You realize that Canon F800 f11 is still twice the size of the Panasonic Leica 100-400. I don't know exactly whether it is the case. From the picture, it looks smaller because the way you see it at the moment, and it has the lens hood on it. The lens hood is quite big. So when you remove the lens hood, it's actually relatively compact for a lens, but it does, like I mentioned earlier, it does remind me of the olden days mirror lenses. They are around about that sort of sizes, and so it's interesting. I have to say, I don't want to use the wrong word here, but I think it's an interesting direction for a lens manufacturer to try to introduce f11 lenses, but I'm just a photographer. I may be wrong completely about the new 11 lenses, and but I personally, I would prefer my current setup. Nihad, it's 200-800 bash, 100-500 all day long. Yep, that's it. The 100-400, don't forget, when you convert into equivalent terms, which I always hate to use that word, that is 200-800 in terms of reach. So we're still gonna be way over what Canon can currently offer in terms of flexibility in the zoom lens. And so the 100-500, you're still missing 300, mate. Mr. C is still missing 300. You have to throw in a teleconverters, but we can still put in another teleconverters in. If we put an MC20, this thing will become 1600. Imagine that. Okay, by then it will be f11. And okay, let's see. What about the ring donut bokeh? Well, that's on the mirror lenses. Mirror lenses always famous for their donut bokeh. There's not going to be like full circular, so it's going to be very different bokeh characters. People either like it or really hate it. It's like a Marmite thing. I personally think that mirror lenses are interesting lenses. And I don't know if you've seen my review on the Tokina 300mm mirror lens on the Micro Four Third in my YouTube channel. You can go and check it out. And I did review a mirror lenses, so you can see those ring bokehs, very apparent in the photos. So some may call it a little bit artistic, and you can do some crazy stuff with it. And don't get me wrong, you can depending on your application, especially if you have a lot of backlit situations, a lot of lights things, and you can possibly see something relatively different, refreshingly different. But I wouldn't say this is an everyday thing. It's got to be for specific creative applications. It's not going to be an everyday photography thing, but yeah, it's always a characteristic for any mirror lenses. It's just how they construct it. They always have the mirror in the middle of the lens, so they can do the reflection back and forth. So the middle elements always blocks the actual bokeh, not bokeh, but the actual rendering. So that's why you always see these rings in the background. If Burana saying if the 100-400 come out, I would sell the 75-300 and get that. I think you would. I think majority of people would, because it's a reach that would outperform the 75-300, and I think optically it's going to be a lot better than that as well. Judging that it's latest lens, it's newer lenses compared to the 75-300, which is much older. So you're definitely getting much better performance out of it compared to the older lenses. And also, the older lenses weren't compatible with any extenders, any teleconverters, so you can't use MC14 or MC20, and these things should be able to use it, and that means that you can get even greater reach if you want. So you got that flexibility there built in with this particular lens. So it will be really exciting for a lot of the Micro Four Third photographers out there. And yeah, Ralph is saying that you don't need a Varo ND filter for that monster. No, you probably don't. Brother, but for now, having fun with the OM2 and the OM lenses, waiting for films. Ah, there you go, mate. There you go. Hello, Ashton. You want to say hi to people? That's a very big lens. And my son is saying that this is a very, very big lens. You haven't seen a very, very big lens yet.
Was that the biggest one in your office?
The biggest one? I'll show you the biggest lens in my office. I have a really big lens in the office.
Bigger than that one?
Bigger than this one. My son is very curious about my 40-150. Okay, and gotta go, Theo. Okay, catch you next time, and thank you. And finally, Terry, I heard somebody referred f4 on the MFT as tonate 8. This is becoming a new term now, isn't it? Tonate. Well, in DP Reviews video, all our lenses are double. They are tone 8, tone 11, tone 6.3. that's all they're referring to now. But anyway, so this is my this is my talk today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my talk, my live stream, and it's been interesting and talking about this because I'm getting excited about the roadmap. Like you saw how excited I was last week when I talked about it. I think it's genuinely good news for not only Olympus customers and also Olympus users, but also Micro Four Third community in general, because it's an exciting place to be now, and we see a lot of the new unannounced product is coming up in the next a few years or so in the near future. So it's going to be really exciting news indeed. And also, just want to give you an updated news and about tomorrow. I may not actually conduct a live stream, even though this is a brand new series I'm trying to create at the moment. I do have some personal issues here. My dad is not actually feeling very well, so and he's in Hong Kong at the moment. So I may actually have to fly back to Hong Kong to see him. So if that becomes reality, and that will mean that I possibly cannot do any live stream for the foreseeable future until I return back to the UK. So just give you a heads up, but I will be updating you on my Facebook, and I'll still posting things up as and when I can. I'll probably still give some video input into my YouTube channel and give you some updates. But it's a generally not very happy day today, to be quite frank, and yeah, I heard the news early morning, so it's not something that I would like to kind of advertise too much. So it's going to be some personal reasons that if you don't see me or gone really quiet for the next few days or weeks even, that will be the reason behind it. So I hope you guys understand. And but once again, I would like to thank you for all your support and continued support about myself and also what I do, you know, as a photographer and also as being an Olympus ambassador as well. So thank you very much. And you guys have heard about it first, so I haven't released this news anywhere else yet, but I'll probably make a statement in my YouTube later on, and also on Facebook I put as a post to let people know, people who follow me know that I may be gone a little bit quiet in the next few weeks, and we just have to see how everything goes. But I'll update you accordingly, and stay safe, anyone, and also just stay creative, stay positive, and do what you can with your camera, and I know sure that you're going to be great. You guys are going to be fine. So don't do that. You're going to touch my lens. You're going to damage my lens. Okay, guys, and thank you very much again. I will speak to you all soon. And yeah, I will talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.